Okay, so today we are doing an interview with MJ Morris, the author of Shadow Phoenix, which is the book that I reviewed. And I would like to welcome MJ to Fergus and the gallery and to the magazine. And I'm so glad that you're here with us. I just want to ask you a few questions and just feel free to be what you are for our readers. So I read Shadow Phoenix, which is the first book, and I wish I had reviewed all of them, but take that into consideration. I was wondering, I think a lot of the readers are wondering, what inspired you to become an author in the first place? Because it's not an easy road to travel for sure.
No, definitely not. And most people will tell you cannot make a living on it, so why even bother? But really, I caught the bug when I was in grade 4, 9 years old, if you can believe it. And I was a little goody two shoes, brown noser, whatever. And my teacher was all like, "Oh, we're going to do short stories, and we're going to introduce you to the concept and the style. And I want 2 pages, and it can be on anything you want." So a 2-page short story at 9. I wrote her a chapbook, 10 chapters long, 4 typed pages. Actually, we didn't type back then, but basically when you write it out, every other line, it equals to that. 4 typed pages for each chapter, and handed it in, and she just basically looked at me and was like, "Thank you, sweetie." I'm like, "I did good, right?"
Oh, you were obviously doomed to be a writer at that moment.
Right, but prior to then, I had really written, like they'd ask for, a paragraph about a bunny or something. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, bunny." But, anything you want. And of course, what I write about, it was called The Enchanted Jungle Figure. So it was just, think of Indiana Jones, but with kids. And it was a blast. I still have it.
And did you take that anywhere?
I haven't. I'm still working.
Because it sounds like it would be very fun.
Oh, it is. And I rewrote it again in high school, so that it was more actual chapbook middle grade length, as opposed to this was a short story done 10 times. And I think it definitely needs more massaging now that I'm an advanced author. But yeah, there's a lot of fun in that story that I really want to be able to revisit.
I think there's probably a whole swath of people that have had that moment, but never followed that path. Like, we all have these moments where things sort of click for us, but take the easy route of getting a 9-to-5 job and stuff like that. It is not easy to be an author or an artist of any sort. So the Shadow Phoenix, right? Heroine, great, loved it. What was happening in your life during the series? So often we are put into positions where we are creating ideas that are relevant to our surroundings. Was there anything happening in your personal life that led you down into writing the Shadow series of books?
Well, all of my works basically are a reflection of me in some capacity or other, something that I'm playing with, toying with, struggling with, exploring, that sort of thing. In that particular time, just before writing it, I've been working with a writing partner now for almost 10 years. And it's one of those things where we both wrote completely different things. She actually writes Victorian murder mystery, and I wrote science fiction and fantasy, but we clicked, we jived, right? And so we would swap works, we'd read each other, critique, what have you, beta stuff. And as things went along, I started getting to know this era, like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, they did that, and I was enthralled by it, if you will. And then all of a sudden there came an opportunity where, okay, I really need to get my name out more. Back to this whole short story writing thing. Need to get into perhaps anthologies, tease people about my writing, get them hooked, and then buy the books. And I had never written anything in the Victorian era. So along came an opportunity, and it was with Brave New Girls, this wonderful series that's going, and it actually helps. I'll read you here. It's proceeds from the sales of the anthology are donated to a scholarship fund through the Society of Women Engineers. So I thought it was a great opportunity, a fundraiser, that this is everything that I want to be part of. And it had to be science fiction and preferably something you hadn't ever published before. And I'm like, what could I write? Ooh, steampunk. I do science and I do Victorian era because I am not a mystery writer. And I started getting hooked, and I started watching movies, and I started reading books, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So I have a short story in here called Twisted Brick, and that it got me hooked, and I'm like, no, I have to keep going now. I've started it, I've gotten into it, I've explored the world, and I've meshed true science with the 1800s and with the Victorian era, because there's no magic in this series. It is scientifically based. Think Jules Verne and their vision of what the future would be. So
yeah, I think that's very critical. If you look at what happened with a lot of science fiction, their followers require you to know your stuff, because if you don't, they will nail you to the proverbial cross on every little thing. So from my perspective as a festival organizer, how important is it that you have the opportunity to do festivals like Cogs and Clockwork and other steampunk-oriented festivals? How have they helped you sort of get your work out there?
Well, they really are an integral key, because those are your people. Those are my people, right? You want to be able to reach your people. It's a very niche market. Not everybody knows what steampunk is. You might mention the Victorian era to someone, they're like, oh yeah, back then, the old days or whatever, but they don't really know. And those of us who do know and have gotten into it and have fallen in love with it, really to be able to have an outlet like the festival allows us to basically celebrate what it is that we love, and to get our works out there, whatever it happens to be. Like, we can be artistic, we can be fun, we can be ourselves.
Yeah, well, I think that's a big thing with our guests in general, and steampunk festivals across North America and across the world, is it lets people be who they would like to be. And it's the same thing with all the pirate festivals and the medieval fairs. For that day, you step away from who you are every other day and become who you would like to be. And a lot of the costume, the cosplay, all of that has that same wonderful transformation for people. And I think reading a good book does that as well. It takes you away from the moment, the job that you're doing right now, and takes you to another world, which is awesome. Do you only write steampunk genre books?
No, actually. This is something, like I mentioned, I stumbled into. Right from day one, I wrote adventure, grade, 9 years old, grade 4. I've always written adventure, and it's carried through, and I have usually an undercurrent or subplot of romance, because I'm a romantic kind of girl, right? I know not everybody likes that in what they read, and why do people have to fall in love? I'm like, well, we do it in real life, so it kind of sneaks into my books, but it's not a major main plot. The main plot is the action. It's the adventure. We're Indiana Jones. We're actually, I often liken, Lara Croft, if you've ever heard of the Tomb Raider series. That's my girl. Most of my female characters, my main characters, are sort of based off of that persona, because she's fun, she's strong, and you can do anything with a character like that, and even make them vulnerable. And so it's science fiction and fantasy has been a main love, but adventure runs through everything.
So I have to tell you, while I was reading Shadow Phoenix, I had a number of moments where I was like, is this a love interest or not a love interest? And because I haven't read the other ones yet, I don't know where they're leading. And I've had a couple moments where I'm like, is this where Louise is going or no? Is this almost like a deal ender for the beginning of the relationship? And my thing is that, as reading only the first of 6, I have no idea what's going to happen in season 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but I'm really looking forward to it. One final question, I think all of our readers are going to be interested in this. What are you working on now?
Well,
And can you talk about it?
I can, because I just launched it. It's called the White Raven series. It's urban fantasy. So it takes place nowadays, but magic. Okay, this is where I'm bringing magic into my stories. I always loved reading, the Harry Potters and different fantasy, Madeleine L'Engle's quadrilogy that she had out with A Wrinkle in Time. And so I'm very much attracted to fantasy. And I don't think that in my writings to date, I've really done it justice. It's always been a crossover of some sort. I've really delved into the science fiction side of things. This time I wanted to play with magic. And so it was nice because I got to do less world building because it takes place today. But yeah, I launched December 11th with book 1 called The Hollow Kiss, and it is the White Raven series. There's going to be definitely 3 books, prequel as well. It's a novella. And the hope is it takes off.
Yeah, that'll be step 1.
It's open-ended enough that I can carry on, just like the Shadow Phoenix series. It comfortably comes to a close after book 6, but like any superhero, and she is a vigilante superhero, there's always somebody who needs to save the day at some point. So it's the same thing with the new series. It's a very similar character who is landed into a situation she wants nothing to do with, but turns out she's the best person for it. And
I think there's definitely a place for all of us to be that person who is in the right place at the right time. Whether you want to be that person or be in that place, it is something that we all need to step up to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, MJ, for your time, and hopefully you will keep writing wonderful novels for all of us to enjoy.
Oh, you can guarantee that. Thanks for having me.